Thank you for joining this module from Sports Scotland's Psychology of Sport course, part of Coach Connect. Today we'll be looking at the ways athletes approach, appraise and cope with the stress and pressure of competition. Commonwealth, European and World Championship medalist Eilidh Doyle went to the 2016 Rio Olympics as an experienced athlete with an enviable track record. Part of an elite team of 4x400 metre runners, she knew they had what it took to bring home a medal. After she and her teammates won bronze, she said, "We knew we were capable of winning a medal, but it's one thing being capable of it and another going out there and doing it. I couldn't have done it with a nicer bunch of girls. I'm over the moon that I can now call myself an Olympic medalist." Evidence suggests that expertise in managing expectations and regulating both anxiety and attention before and during competition is critically influential to their performance on the day. The way athletes approach competition is a complex, dynamic process influenced by situational and personal factors. On the situational side, they might consider past performances and experiences, individual, club or team routines, and the influence of the significant people in their lives, like coaches, family and friends. The personal side is about how they may approach the situation, whether they're looking forward to the challenge or feeling overwhelmed by their own expectations or the expectations they perceive in others, like family or friends. Personality has a role to play too. There are two main ways for an athlete to appraise competition: as a challenge or as a threat. Each has an impact on the coping strategies they'll use. Appraising the situation as a challenge is associated with improved performance and facilitative coping, finding positive ways to deal with stress and anxiety. Appraising it as a threat is associated with decreased performance and not coping or avoidance coping. If you'd like to refresh your memory about coping strategies, go to Psychology of Sport on our website or app and review Module 3, Coping with Pressure and Stress. Let's take a closer look at what challenge and threat mean to our athletes. Athletes who appraise competition as a challenge will typically view it positively even though they know it could be difficult, have a perception that they possess the resources they need to cope, experience facilitative anxiety which doesn't hinder their preparations, feel capable of adapting to the environment, demonstrate problem-solving coping skills and show that they're prepared to address stress now and in the future, and show increased performance. Athletes who appraise competition as a threat will typically view the situation negatively, not feel they're capable of achieving even though they want to, not feel like they have the skills and resources to cope, experience debilitative anxiety which prevents them from preparing properly, use avoidance or emotion-focused coping strategies and won't be able to develop future-oriented coping, not be prepared or able to address stress and show decreased performance. We're going to go on to explain the difference between challenge and threat appraisals and examine the benefits of challenge appraisals for athletes. At the end of the module, we'll present some strategies that will help you to educate your athletes to appraise competition as a challenge. In Coping with Pressure and Stress, we looked at the stress athletes face when preparing to perform at a competition. In this module, we're looking at how they start to appraise the situation they're in and what influences that appraisal. Whether an athlete appraises a situation as a challenge or a threat is based on their demand and resource appraisals. When making a demand appraisal, the athlete usually considers whether the situation, in other words the competition, is going to place them in danger, how much effort is going to be required, and whether or not they can achieve their goals. When making a resource appraisal, they normally think about whether they have the skills, knowledge, abilities, and external support to cope, and whether coping with the situation and achieving their goals is within their control. Athletes who think they have the capacity and resource they need tend to appraise competition as a challenge. They believe they can achieve their goals and therefore demonstrate facilitative coping in a stressful situation. In appraising the challenge they're facing, athletes might see the competition as an opportunity to test themselves. They may anticipate gain, improvement, or personal growth from their performance. They're more likely to perform to the level of their ability. They may even improve on their personal bests, increasing their chances for success. Let's take Andrew Bouchard as an example. He took nearly 5 seconds off his Scottish 5,000 metre record during his first major championships, the 2016 Rio Olympics. He finished 6th, behind Mo Farah, but was, in his own words, over the moon with the result. He said, "I came into this year being really positive, and I guess I showed that. I'm not scared of anyone, no matter who they are, and I think everyone has to be like that. You can't fear these people. I train and work as hard as them, so I deserve to be there. I have no idea what I could do next, but it is looking good. I just hope I can keep going and progressing." Andrew shows that he started the year feeling that he had the resources to cope and with belief in his own ability. He's attributed strong performance to hard work and training, and he believes he can make progress and continue to perform well. Rowers Helen Glover and Heather Stanning hadn't lost a competition since 2012. In the run-up to Rio, Heather said, "The expectation is for us always to go out and win, but we can't think about that. We have to prepare in the way we always have. We have our own standards and we race to them. Yes, we want to go out and win, but we also want to row well and do the best race we are capable of. Racing to our own and our coach's standards is almost the harder thing to achieve sometimes." She identified the threat of always being expected to win, but reframed it as a challenge, a situation in which the two have the resources to cope with and control the situation. Athletes who feel that they're in a stressful situation and don't have the skills or resources to cope will typically appraise competition as a threat. Their perception is that they won't be able to perform or achieve their goals, or that they doubt their ability to do so. The sentiment is, "I don't think I can do that," or "I'll look silly here if I lose. These athletes are ranked lower than me." Sometimes it's as serious as, "There's no point trying. My opponent is so much better than me." Or even, "I could get hurt here." That uncertainty and threat to the athlete's ability to achieve their goals, as well as perceived danger, can cause increased anxiety, decreased effort, and a drop in performance standards. A threat state can also be caused by factors out with the athlete's control, like weather or the opposition. Focusing on them usually leads to a drop in their self-efficacy. In other words, their belief in their ability to perform. Unlike self-confidence, self-efficacy is situation-specific. It can be changeable based on the situation the athlete is in. For example, they may have high self-efficacy at a club level, but not at national level. The combination of lack of control and reduced self-efficacy is likely to lead to reduced performance. If, however, an athlete accepts that there are aspects of the situation that can't be controlled, but chooses to focus on those that can be, they may be able to convert their perceived threat to a perceived challenge. We look at the concept of self-efficacy and how it could be influenced in the second module in this series, The 3 Keys to Being a Good Coach. You can help an athlete appraise a competition as a challenge by increasing their perceived resources. You can do that by improving their self-efficacy, increasing their perceived control and social support, and helping them set approach goals that focus on what they want to achieve rather than what they want to avoid. Verbal encouragement, feedback on progress, and clear, measurable, specific goals to achieve can all help improve an athlete's self-efficacy. Show the athlete that they have what it takes, perhaps by sharing a video of them performing in similar circumstances or performing the skill or task required. Design your training so it represents the competitive environment as much as possible. That helps your athlete develop the resources they need to cope with that environment and to believe that they can perform. You can help your athletes increase their perception of control by reinforcing those elements of competition situations that are within their control and discussing when and how to focus on the right things. Developing a pre-performance routine helps establish that control and clarify the thoughts and behaviours your athlete should focus on in the lead-up to a competition. That routine could start 30 minutes before the competition event, or up to a week before it starts, depending on individual athletes. You can also give them some direct control by consulting with them about this aspect of their training. We'll look at that in more detail in a moment. Social support is, as you'd imagine, messages from family, friends, contemporaries and fans. It's important that these messages are unconditional and focused on things the athlete can control. Look at this example. A letter from triple Olympian Tim Burke to the USA's 2016 Youth Olympic team. Tim doesn't set any expectations on the youth team other than to feel proud and enjoy themselves. He acknowledges their desire to do well, but encourages them to make the most of the experience too. He highlights the importance of building great memories more than achieving great things in their performance. Finally, he offers solid, practical advice that's well within the control of every member of the team. It's vital when planning how to increase your athlete's perceived resources that you do so with them rather than for them. Talk to them about when they'd like to see family and friends, or when they feel that watching a video of themselves performing would be most beneficial. Work collaboratively with the athlete to set approach goals that will help them focus on what they want to achieve rather than what they want to avoid. These goals can be set days, weeks, months, even years before the competition. They'll have clear, objective measures associated with them, which can be adjusted and reset as the athlete's career and performance develops. Regularly reviewing progress and, where appropriate, resetting goals and associated measures is a vital part of helping your athlete develop their self-efficacy and plan their progress. Time for your coaching challenge. This is where we'd like you to consider some questions and share your answers with the dedicated Facebook group. It's useful support and feedback for all coaches, so please join in. Think about the athletes you currently coach. Reflect on whether they tend to appraise competitions as a challenge or a threat. How athletes appraise competitions varies according to the situations and the individual. Think about the situational and personal factors that led them to consider competitions as a challenge. What gave them the belief that they could meet the demands of the situation? If they appraised specific competitions as a threat, reflect on the factors that caused their uncertainty, why they didn't feel they had the ability or the resources to cope. If you'd like to, you could work with one or more of your athletes to help them appraise a future competition as a challenge by using the strategies we've described. Enhance their self-efficacy, develop their perception of control and social support, and set measurable approach goals. Then, feedback on how effective you felt these strategies were and the impact that appraising the competition as a challenge had on your athlete's thoughts, feeling and behaviour. Thank you for taking part in this Sport Scotland Psychology of Sport module. Look out for more modules and workshops from Coach Connect, available on our website or through the Sports Scotland app.